The final whistle echoed through the Santiago Bernabéu stadium, and Real Madrid secured their place in the quarterfinals of the 2025 Champions League after a thrilling penalty shootout against Atlético de Madrid. The tension of the match, which had ended in a draw after regular time and extra time, was replaced by an explosion of joy from the Madridistas. Real Madrid players celebrated wildly on the pitch, while Atletico's players left the field with their heads down, devastated by the painful defeat. Vinicius Jr., one of the team's biggest stars, was one of the night's heroes. Throughout the match, he had tormented the opposing defense with his speed and dribbling, and despite his exhaustion, he had the strength to convert his penalty in the shootout. Now, after a quick post-match interview and exchanging congratulations with his teammates, he slowly made his way toward the stadium exit, soaking in the energy of victory and the joy of advancing in Europe's most prestigious competition. Outside the Bernabeu, dozens of Real Madrid fans eagerly waited for the players to come out. Cheers of excitement still echoed in the night, and many held flags and jerseys, hoping for an autograph or a photo with their idols. The club's security kept a controlled perimeter, but allowed some fans to get close for a brief interaction with the athletes. Vini Jr. noticed the enthusiasm of the supporters, and despite his fatigue, smiled. He had always made a point of showing appreciation for the fans, so he decided to stop for a few moments to take pictures and sign shirts. As he posed for selfies and listened to the excited shouts of Madridistas, a young fan wearing a Real Madrid jersey trembled with excitement as he managed to snap a photo with the Brazilian star. "Thank you, Vini. You're the best," the boy said, visibly emotional. In the middle of the commotion, a man dressed in a Real Madrid jacket slipped among the fans. He had a serious expression and didn't seem to share the same enthusiasm as the others. Moving quickly, he managed to get close to Vinicius, pretending to want a photo as well. At the exact moment the player turned his head to pose for the camera, the man lunged forward aggressively and spat directly in the Brazilian attacker's face. Time seemed to freeze. The impact of the disgusting act was immediate. Vinicius Jr. took a step back, instinctively wiping his face with his hand. His eyes filled with outrage and fury. The silence lasted only a second before chaos erupted. The Real Madrid fans around him reacted with furious shouts, pushing the aggressor and trying to force him away. Security acted quickly to contain the situation, but the damage was already done. The man, now revealing his true identity by pulling an Atlético de Madrid scarf from his pocket, shouted provocatively at the Madridistas, "That's for you to learn, Vinicius. Atlético never bows down to you." The phrase was the spark that ignited an explosion. Real Madrid supporters lunged at the infiltrator, and within seconds other Atlético sympathizers, who had been discreetly scattered around the area, joined the brawl. Shoving turned into punches, and within moments, the stadium exit transformed into a battleground. Vini Jr., still fuming from the assault, tried to step away from the fight, but the situation was spiraling out of control. The club's security attempted to intervene while the police, already on standby to prevent post-match clashes, began to mobilize to contain the turmoil. The sound of sirens and the shouts of the fans echoed through the Madrid night, and the celebratory atmosphere quickly turned into a scene of chaos and tension. The chaos escalated in a matter of seconds. The scene outside the Santiago Bernabéu had turned into a battleground between Real Madrid and Atlético de Madrid fans. The spit in Vinicius Jr.'s face was the spark, but the tension between the rival supporters had been building up since the start of the match. Now, outside the stadium, what had been a football rivalry turned into uncontrolled violence. Vini Jr., still feeling the disgust and indignation, tried to step away from the center of the chaos. He knew that any reaction from him could make the situation even worse, but it was impossible to hide his anger. He quickly wiped his face with the sleeve of his jacket, his eyes burning with fury. Real Madrid security staff, realizing the danger of the situation, acted fast. 2 security guards surrounded Vinicius and started pushing him toward the club's private parking area, trying to prevent him from getting caught up in the brawl. "Get in the car now, Vini," one of the security guards ordered, gripping the player's arm. But Vinicius hesitated for a moment. His blood was boiling. He didn't want to just walk away as if nothing had happened. He could still feel the spit on his skin, and for a second, the urge to confront the aggressor was overwhelming. That guy can't just get away with this, Vinicius shouted, still glaring at the man, who was now struggling to escape as angry Real Madrid supporters surrounded him. Let the police handle it, the security guard insisted, pulling Vinicius back. By now, the fight had spiraled out of control. Real Madrid fans shoved the infiltrators from Atletico, who fought back with punches and kicks. Some security staff tried to intervene, but the sheer number of people involved made it nearly impossible to restore order. Shouts mixed with the wailing of police sirens as officers arrived to try and contain the riot. In the midst of the chaos, an Atletico supporter managed to climb onto a concrete bench and started shouting provocations. "You won on penalties, but you'll never be bigger than Atleti. We have the real passion for football." That only inflamed the situation further. Enraged Madridistas charged toward him while other Real Madrid players who were exiting the stadium watched the scene unfold in concern. Luka Modric, one of the team's leaders and among the first to leave the locker room, approached Vinicius and tried to calm him down. "Let it go, Vinny. It's not worth it. You played an amazing game today. Don't ruin your night over some idiot." Vinicius took a deep breath, trying to control himself, but the anger still burned inside him. Meanwhile, the police started taking action. Officers arrived with shields and batons, attempting to disperse the crowd. Some Atletico fans had already been tackled to the ground and restrained, while others tried to flee amid the chaos. A Real Madrid supporter, his face bloodied from a punch, shouted at the police to arrest the infiltrators. "They came here just to cause trouble. This is a disgrace." By this time, journalists and cameras had gathered, capturing every moment of the riot. Live footage began spreading on social media, showing the chaos unfolding outside the Bernabeu. Inside the parking lot, Vinicius was still struggling to calm down. He wanted justice. He wanted the fan who had disrespected him to face consequences. But at the same time, he knew that any action from him now could turn into controversy and negative headlines the next day. Taking a deep breath, he looked at Modric and the security staff. "All right, I'll get in the car, but this isn't over." With one last glance at the mayhem outside, Vinicius stepped into the black club car and slammed the door shut, still feeling the rage pulsing inside him. Outside, the fight continued. A night that should have been one of celebration for Madridistas had turned into a war zone. The black Real Madrid car moved slowly through the Santiago Bernabeu parking lot as Vinicius Jr. watched the chaos outside through the window. The tinted glass didn't stop him from seeing the turmoil. Fans were still shoving each other. Some were on the ground restrained by police, and journalists were trying to capture every detail of the brawl. The sound of sirens and shouting echoed in his head, mixed with the anger still burning inside him. He ran his hands over his face, taking a deep breath. No matter how much he tried to calm down, the scene was still fresh in his mind. The infiltrated fan, the spit, the look of mockery from the aggressor. It was humiliating. It wasn't just about football, not just about rivalry. He had faced similar situations before, but this time it felt different. This time he felt powerless. That was pure cowardice, he muttered to himself, leaning his head against the seat. Outside, the police were finally dispersing the most aggressive fans. Some had already been taken to police cars while others tried to slip away unnoticed. The fan who had spat on Vinicius had been identified and was now being escorted away by 2 officers, still shouting provocations. "I'd do it again. This team is a joke," the man yelled as he was handcuffed and put into a police car. Real Madrid supporters still present cheered the arrest as if it were a goal. Some clapped, others hurled insults, but most felt a sense of relief. At least the one who started it all wouldn't walk away unpunished. Luka Modric and other Real Madrid players who had witnessed the chaos finally managed to leave in their own cars. Before driving off, Modric sent a message to Vinicius. "Modric, let it go, brother. It's not worth your energy. We played a great match. That should be our answer." Vinicius read the message but took a few minutes to reply. He knew Modric was right, but he was still processing everything that had happened. In the passenger seat, one of the club's security officers looked at Vinicius through the rearview mirror. "This will be in every newspaper tomorrow, Vinny. Do you want us to prepare an official statement?" The Brazilian shook his head. "Not yet. I'll think about what to say." That night, when he got home, Vinicius sat on the couch for a long time, the TV on but his mind elsewhere. His phone wouldn't stop vibrating with messages of support from friends, teammates, and even other footballers from around the world. Some messages were public, tweets and Instagram posts. Others were private, from people who knew exactly how he was feeling. Hours later, when the streets had calmed down and the chaos had died down, Vinicius finally decided to speak out. He picked up his phone and opened Instagram. He posted a picture from the match celebrating the team's qualification and wrote in the caption, "On the pitch we respond with football. Off it, with dignity, we move forward." The post quickly went viral, with most comments showing support. But as always, there were those who tried to downplay what had happened, saying things like, "This is part of football," or accusing Vinicius of overreacting. But he no longer cared. He knew who he was, what he stood for, and that his response would always come the right way, with the ball at his feet and his head held high. The next day, the incident dominated the news. Real Madrid released an official statement condemning the attack on their player and demanding authorities take action to prevent such incidents from happening again. Atlético de Madrid, on the other hand, distanced themselves from the matter, claiming that the aggressor did not represent their club. The fan who started the brawl was banned from stadiums indefinitely, and police continued to investigate others involved. But for Vinicius Jr., the real response would come in the Champions League quarterfinals. Real Madrid was more alive than ever in the competition, and he was more motivated than ever to show that nothing, not even the cowardice of a few, could stop him.